Well, we're delighted today to have Sister Stacy with us, just to tell us a little bit about her experience reading the book Grieving in Silence: How to Move Beyond Life's Disappointments. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know you were one of the first readers of this text, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about how this book has impacted you and anything that really stood out for you.
Well, thank you for having me. This book impacted me so much because grieving in silence is something that I've experienced for a very long time. So I know what it is like to struggle with something and not be able to speak about it.
Yeah.
And then even worse, not being able to know that even that worthy thinking about what you're experiencing is even real.
Right.
So this book helped me to just put language and put words to feelings and experiences that I've had.
So interesting. Yeah, so interesting. And can you share maybe there's a chapter or a section that you thought this was it for it?
The most impactful part for me was when Sister Michelle talked about the trapdoor effect, as well as the echo chamber. I did not know it was a real thing. It really is a real sound, a ringing that goes off in your head, and it's just continuous. It never ends. It just keeps going, and nobody else recognizes it. Nobody else hears it. And even me, myself, didn't even know it was real. Thought I was crazy. I said, but then here's a professional.
Yeah.
Right? He's saying, listen, these things are real.
Yeah.
It's not just the imagination. It's real, and there are ways to move past it, to heal and to move past it. So it gave you hope. Hope to seek healing, hope to move past.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There is hope. We can move beyond our disappointments. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
It is my delight and privilege today to have with me Dr. Michelle Matthias, the author of the newly released book, Grieving in Silence: How to Move Beyond Life's Disappointments. So let's get started. Let's start at the beginning. The title, why grief? Why did you choose this title? Is it about grieving or is it about disappointments?
That's very good. Why not grief? I think this is an important topic that need to be spoken about a little bit more. The book is about both grief and it's about disappointment. So, and both are linked to negative emotions.
So you say they're both related to negative emotions, but how would you define the disappointment that you reference in your writing?
Well, disappointment, it's really the unhappiness and discouragement that results when our hopes and expectation have not been realized or satisfied. So, sometimes someone may expect to get a certain outcome, and when that is not fulfilled and their hopes are dashed, then there is disappointment. So that's kind of what the book is dealing with, that kind of disappointment.
Okay, when our hopes are kind of dashed.
Yeah.
So then how does grief differ from disappointment?
Good question, Dr. James. There is a difference. Grief is the natural emotional response to loss. So grief, it's more debilitating. It's that anguish that's experienced after significant loss, usually the death of a loved one.
Okay.
Grief is often includes physiological distress, separation anxiety, confusion, yearning, obsessive dwelling on the past, and apprehension about sometimes the future. So there definitely is a difference between the two.
Okay. It always baffles and blows my mind when I think of just about how God orchestrates things. But now, can you just tell us a little bit more about what you were trying to convey through this book, through writing this book?
So I came to the realization that everyone experiences grief, whether or not they're aware of it.
Yeah.
You see, I think if you love, or even if you like someone, if you have hopes and expectation, and I think we all do.
Yes, absolutely.
If they fail or if they're not realized, then there is a sense of grief because we're disappointed. And disappointment is more easily recognized. But we sometimes do not realize that there's a grieving process that's associated with our disappointment. You know, it's easy, little small things that are not realized. We get past them very quickly. The bigger things, we then know there's a process. So as maybe I think I wrote in the book, if I wanted to wear, say, a particular dress to church, and if
you did,
I realized that it was not picked up from the cleaners, then there's a grief. Because
but we don't often name it as that.
No, because we move on and it's not a big deal. However, it's because the process is so very quick. What about when it doesn't move as fast?
So not because the process is quick means that it isn't grief.
Exactly. Once there's disappointment, there's a grieving process associated with it.
So then, are you saying that we could be grieving but still functional and smiling?
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because as I said earlier, grief is not always debilitating. Sometimes it just feels like we're in a funk, you know, we're just having that off day and then it passes. Most of us are fully functional while we're grieving.
I've never thought of it like that. That's really interesting.
And that's why I think it's important for us to talk about it. And that's why I think it was important to write about it. Because the truth is, Dr. James, if we do not talk about this, if we do not make peace with this, it becomes our constant companion. It really resides with us.
And that's not in a positive sense.
Not in a positive sense.
Wow. And now, if it is our constant companion, how does that affect us?
As we said, not in a positive light.
Right.
If it becomes our constant companion, the truth is it has the potential to make us bitter, resentful. We can be left with like trust issues. And if this is left, it can lead to depression, anxiety, anger issues. It really gets chronic. It can have relational consequences. It has the potential to impact the way we relate to our own self. The way we relate to others, and even the way we relate to God. It can affect our relationship with God. So it does have consequences when we allow it to reside with us.
Then why is it so difficult for us to speak about things that cause us grief?
Well, that's the good question. I do think that there are many factors that causes us not to want to talk about it. Many of us feel like if we admit and talk about it, we're like wimps. You know, if we admit emotional pain, it's almost like, because we don't like to admit it, we become expert undertakers.
Ooh, I like that term.
We have a tendency to just bury our pain or disappointments, even to the people that were closest to us.
So true.
So the question nonetheless is, does it go away? And the answer is no. It really becomes like a cancer that manifests itself in many destructive ways. And as I said earlier, you have anger, you have mood swings. Sometimes it's really maybe at the foundation of people drinking and lying and cutting themselves, being promiscuous, you name it. There are lots of negativities that can spin off when we bury those emotions and do not deal with them. So it can become a trigger to a lot of undesirable behaviors.
So in this scenario, a burial is not a positive thing.
Not a positive thing.
Because often we think, something's dead, let's just get rid of it.
When it is the death of a loved one, a burial is important. But when it's our pain and our grief and our disappointment, burying it is to our detriment.
So then, in essence, are you saying that it's not only okay to talk about our disappointments, but it's also healthy for us to do that?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It is so okay to talk about what hurts us emotionally, just like it's okay to talk about what hurts us physically. This book is really intended to permit us to start a conversation like we're doing now, a conversation with ourselves.
With ourselves.
With others and with God. It's really giving that permission that it's okay to talk about it. He knows our pain. He knows it better than, and the Lord really wants to partner with us. So really my hope is that we will be more aware and be better equipped to really understand that grief does not have to be destructive. It does not have to lead to mental health issues. Disappointments causes grief, but allowing ourselves to grieve brings healing.
Allowing ourselves to grieve brings healing.
And sometimes that's what we need to do, Dr. James, to give ourselves permission.
Seems so counterintuitive, but so profound. Thank you for that. So I know in the book you've written about some steps on how to move past grief and move past our disappointments, just processing all of that. Can you just give us a little sneak peek about that?
Right, and that's why it's important to get the book, Sister Shana.
Of course.
But the truth is, I do believe that when we experience grief, there is a process. And, I do think it's very important for us to be patient with ourselves. And for those around us, that are supporting us, that patience is important, because when disappointment comes, it tends to sometimes put us in a tailspin. I maybe make mention in the book about that pit of disappointment. It's kind of like you just really plunge deep.
Oh, yes.
But the truth is, pits do not make good residents. It's not meant for you to reside there. So therefore, there are some steps that I have put there to move out. And, if you read the book, then you'll see that these steps may not necessarily have to be done in that order, but that determination that this is not my residence and I'm going to come out of this better. I'm going to grow out of this. And there is life after disappointment. And I think that's why it's important for people to read the book and see what resonates with them, but hold on to that hope that when life hits you down, you do not have to stay down. There is growth that can
We can rise again.
You can rise again.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Dr. Matthias, for spending this time with us. It has been very insightful.
Thank you for having me, Dr. James. It has been my pleasure.
So I know that you're also a professional certified coach. Can you let our viewers know where they can contact you if they would like more information or they need support?
For more information and to contact me, I do have a website, pavilioncoaching.com. And if they, just Google that, then they'll be able to maybe find a little bit more about me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We hope that this was insightful and impactful for you. If you would like to order a copy of the book, you can go to the website, eddminister.com. And we hope that you will move past your disappointments.